All right, this is getting silly. I'm up to my ears in bikes. I'm going to work on this motor today. And I've got another bike coming in here this morning. Got to learn to say no. Just have to learn to say no. I'm going to put this green bike aside. I want to take the primary part, see if the rotor has the proper timing marks, because I'm pretty well convinced that the hard starting, basically no starting situation is timing. Carburetor's great, compression's good enough on one side, and the other side will come up when the bike gets running. So I'm going to put this bike aside for a while, maybe take it over and have the custom seat made and leave it there for a week or so. But I need room. So I'm going to work on this, try to get this engine put together this morning so I can clear it out, and that'll help with room. The bike coming in this morning is a Norton coming in here for isoelastics. I'm going to stick it over there. And then I am going to start on this Triumph. I feel really, really badly about the Triumph. I've got the parts that were ordered for the Triumph, and I need to get that Triumph up on the list. That's what I'm going to do today. So anyway, I'm going to, I'll videotape the process of putting this primary on and the other side of this engine. That'll be my video for the day. So I've got all these parts down here. I've sorted. I have everything I need. And I'm going to start the installation right now. Well, I didn't do a time hack on that last video. So it's 9:30 now. It didn't take me all this time, from whatever time that was, because I had to take time out for another motorcycle to come in. It's sitting over there. And Kevin and I are going to do isoelastics on that. So that's going to be quite a job. Anyway, I did get a little bit of time to put the side cover, the primary case back on the engine, and that's done. So now we're going to put the drive assembly in. By the way, I'm going to give you a hint. Let me walk over here and take out these slip joint pliers. If you have locking tabs on bolts that normally you would put on with a chisel and a hammer, the way we do it is to use slip joint pliers. You just get in there and open them up to the right size. Let's see if I can do this. And just reach in there, grab it, and pull it like that. And they just pull down beautifully without any chiseling, without any pounding, and you can do that. So anyway, slip joint pliers, locking tabs, much easier than chisel and hammer, and neater too. So that's where I am. I'm going to start putting the drive in. Okay, well, it's 10 after 10. Once again, the time hack doesn't really matter because I took a break and went and had some breakfast. So I'm over here. I've got the lights set up and trying to illuminate this. And a little commentary. The first time I put a Norton primary together, I was appalled at how flimsy everything was. Then I realized, well, it's not flimsy because there's no stress on it. There's no stress on this case. It's just a big case full of oil. The stress is on the tranny main shaft and the crankshaft. Everything else is just sort of floating here to hold the oil. The second thing that I thought was just terrible was the fact that the clutch is held away from the back of the case by that tiny little circlip. That tiny little piece of metal there holds the clutch in place. I mean, I thought that was horrible. And then I realized, no, actually it's not. Because on top of that goes this washer there that's actually cut out to fit over top of that clip. So you put this on the shaft and it fits over top of that clip, so that clip cannot possibly come off. And then the clutch goes up against that. And I thought, well, that's really cool. Okay, so now, let's see, let's go back over here. You have to put the whole drive in in the bike together. You can't put this on, then hang the chain. You can't put this on and this in the chain. And you can't do it. They both have to go on at the same time. Good news with Nortons, they're splined. This one's splined and this one is a tapered fit. Tapered fits are just about the tightest, strongest fit you can get. You can put a taper fit on there with a very tiny little key and it's not going anywhere. Look it up. I have something to do with friction. So anyway, tapered fits are really easy. So all this has to do is fit over the key that's going to be in the crankshaft. But they do have to go in together. All right, now I'm going to put the camera in the holder and go over here. First, I'm going to point out this. This is a special tool. I made this. This is an old hacksaw blade that I ground down. And I'm going to show you how I use it to align the crankshaft sprocket and the clutch basket. Okay? So it's just an old hacksaw blade. But I'm going to go over here and hook this up in the tripod now, and I'll be right back. Okay, before we drop the whole thing on, we have to align the front and rear sprockets. And we do that by just taking them and sliding them into, there's no key here, so I can just slide this thing on like that. This one's splined, so it just goes on like so, up against that retainer that I'd show you. Okay, so now they're both in nice and tight. This is where you take that special alignment tool. This is a hacksaw blade. You lay it in this groove up here now. This groove, this width actually is made to fit a Triumph clutch basket, but it works just fine on mine, on Norton's, as long as I keep it aligned and pressure on it up here. So if I line it up so that it's against the teeth, and I'll keep my fingers on it, and then look over on this side, let's see if I can zoom in and you can see what I'm looking at. It's not on the outside of the teeth. It's actually inside the tooth by some amount. And actually I know it's 85 thousandths because I've measured it already. So you take this off and you put shims back here. These two work just great. And when you put it back on, just aligned everything in here like so, and it comes down and it's right next to the outside of that tooth right there. So this sprocket is in line with this sprocket at this point in time, within a bazillionth of an inch. So that's good. So now we know what needs to be shimmed. Now we can put the whole thing together. So now the good news was that when Roger brought all this stuff up here, he gave me about 30,000 shims to choose from. So I had plenty of shims to pick the ones I needed. And I actually measured what I did with the micrometer. And now we're going to put it together and then do the clutch and the drive. So we're going to do that next. Stand by, I'll be right back. Okay, the shims are back here. I put the key in the crankshaft keyway. Let's see how smoothly this goes. This will either go really, really smoothly and look really, really professional, or we'll all get a good laugh out of it. Well, I'm starting to think we're going to get that good laugh. Nobody ever said it'd be easy. right, that slipped in very nicely. This slipped in very nicely. All right, so far so good. All right, so I'll start bolting things down. I'll get ready to do that, and I'll just come back to the camera. Well, interesting. I can't find the nut that goes on this shaft. So I'm sitting here, these are in place, and I need to bolt them down. And you'd think, out of all these nuts left over from all the bikes and cars and everything else I've ever worked on in my life, you'd think that in here somewhere would be one that would fit that shaft. And there's not. And not only did I go through this box, over there I've got a couple drawers full of miscellaneous nuts and bolts, and could not find one over there either. So I'm going to, I have called Roger, the owner of their engine, and he's got as big a collection down there, if not more. And I've asked him to look through his stuff and see if he has the nut that fits this tranny main shaft where it goes through the clutch. In the meantime, I'll put the alternator in front sprocket on permanently. Then I'll go to the other side and close up the transmission. So I'll stay busy for another hour or so, but I sure wish I had a nut to fit that shaft. All right, while waiting for Roger to give me a call about the nut that I need for the tranny main shaft to hold the clutch basket in place, I just figured I'd go ahead and mount the alternator on the engine crankshaft. That'll clean up the front end of the drive assembly, and I'll just wait for news on the nut. After that, I'll go over and I'll close up the tranny. So this is interesting. I have two alternators here. This one's fresh out of the box, brand new. It even had the clamps around it that they ship it with. And I'm going to show you how to sorta test an alternator magnet to see if it's still good to use. Okay, hang on. Okay, let's just do a quick field test. Unauthorized, non-specific, nobody says do this. I haven't seen it written down anywhere. But if you take a heavy-duty wrench, like unto so, and do this, if it hangs there, that's really good. Now, this is a brand new one, so it's hanging there really nice. Okay? This one's got some miles on it. It still hangs there. Perfectly adequate. I wouldn't mind. If this was in a bike I was working on, I'd put it back in. Okay? It's... You can see the difference. Okay, so I'm going to put this one in the engine. It's stronger than the other. So I'm going to put that in there and close it up. All right, so the rotor's on, and Roger's bringing up a collection of 5/8 bolts, nuts, to see if he has one that'll fit this. This is on and tightened down, and I'm just for the heck of it going to show you how we turn these tabs up. This is a poor example because it's practically up by already. But if it was new, what we do is just this. That's a heck of a lot better than beating the heck out of it with a hammer. So anyway, that's just for the heck of it. Thought I'd do that. I'm going to mount the stator now. Okay, the stator is mounted, and I'll zoom in here. You want 10/1000ths of an inch clearance between the rotor and the stator. And I don't know, 20 some odd years ago, I found some thin aluminum that's just about 10/1000ths of an inch. And I've been using it ever since to prove that you got the clearance. Clarence. So it's pretty good. Now, if you ever get to the point where you're putting one of these in here and you don't have that clearance, you can actually over drill these holes and it'll give you another 1/1000th of an inch or so all around. So anyway, completely around. So, you want some clearance, Clarence? All right, getting these alternator wires through this little grommet is sometimes fun. We can warm them up and they'll be a little bit more flexible. But still, getting this big, sloppy plastic through here can be a pain in the in your life. So I'm going to put a little piece of shrink tubing over the end, like so. And I'm going to heat it down. Now, I don't know if this is going to work or not. This is an experiment. See if this will make it a little bit more streamlined, and see if it will go through the grommet better. And a little lubrication, because of that famous movie line, there's always time for lubrication. Let's see. All right. Let's see if this will go through the eyelet. I'm going to push and I'm going to pull at the same time. Try to get that light in there a little better. Now I'm going to probably step in front of the camera. So let's move it over here. And lower it down. I'm going to get behind here and try to feed it through as I pull it through. Ah, pretty good. All right. Now, if you have a choice of putting the wire down here or putting the wire up here somewhere, I want the oil to drain downhill, away from the grommet when the bike is running. So I always go to the low point. Doesn't matter at all. All right. Okay, so it is grommetized. Good. And there you go. Now, all right. Well, while waiting for the clutch nut that I need, I'm going to go ahead and put the cover on this tranny. I've got to clean off some garbage. My goodness, gasket. I have to clean off some gasket material, and then it should be a pretty straightforward drop-on. The cover has everything in it that it needs. And I have a brand new gasket that Roger supplied. So theoretically, this is what we refer to as those theoretical 5-minute jobs. So let's see how it goes. All right, I got the face of the tranny cleaned up and everything wiped out. Over here, I've got the cover cleaned out, all the gasket material taken off, and things cleaned up pretty good. I'm going to clean this up. It was loose. I'll put a new gasket on it. I'll clean it up and put it back on. So that's where I am right now. About midway in this 5-minute job. All right, I got this oil fitting off, cleaned, put back on, fresh gasket, nicely sealed, tubing over it, keeping stuff out. I put the cover on the transmission by accident. I had everything all set, and I decided to do a test fit, and it popped on there so smoothly, I decided that I was just going to leave it on. I'm not going to take it off and show people how I put it on. Frankly, sometimes they pop on nicely, and sometimes they don't, and this time they did, so I decided to just leave it. So I do have something here. This is a handheld impact tool, and what I do is I tighten these screws down by hand, okay? Then you put the impact tool in it. This is, I made this. It's ground down so it'll reach all the way in on transmission bolts. Okay, you put it in there and you turn it in the direction that you want to tighten. For example, now it's set for tightening, okay? And then you take Jake. There's a newsman on TV named Jake Tapper. And we always referred to this as the Tapper, and finally I decided I'd name it Jake. So anyway, you put it in here like so, and you don't have to beat these things. This is people think that you have to beat the heck out of them, and you don't. You just a few taps like that, and it will tighten all of these down just beautifully. Once you've gotten the screwdriver into the screwdriver head. Come on now, I can't see what I'm doing. Okay. Oh, the joys of doing it on tape. There. All right, get down here on my knees. Tired knees. All right, that one's in nicely. You don't have to hit them hard. I watch people smack the heck out of these things, and there's just no sense to it. There we go. And I think I've already done this one. Okay, so that's nicely done. I don't have a shifter, so we'll just leave it like that. I do have the cover here. I'll put that on. And up until just a moment ago, I had a nice brand new gasket for it. And then I laid something down on it and broke the gasket. So now I'll go see if I have another one, and if I don't, I'll make one. So we can close that off. Then I'll go back to the primary side because Roger came by with the nuts that I need, so I'll go over there and finish that side. Okay, be right back. Okay, so the tranny's all buttoned up. Frankly, it was faster to make a gasket than it was to find a gasket. So this side's all done. I will mark it as so. Okay, so now everybody knows there's no oil in there. In case it gets tipped over, it won't be falling all over draining all over the floor or backseat of a car. So now they know there's no oil in it. And I could at the same time with the engine do the same thing. As there's no oil in the sump on that thing. Okay, I'm going to spin it around and finish with the primary side. Okay, I forgot to show you torquing the crankshaft nut, but I'll show you torquing the clutch hub nut. I have two sockets, one here and the other here, which lock. This locks the inner hub to the outer basket. This locks the basket to this aluminum stop. So I can now get in there and torque these things to the appropriate amount. I have one book that says 70 pounds. I have another book that says 80 pounds. If you have a book that says some other pounds, I don't care. So I've got this thing set for 60 pounds right now. I've already done 50. Okay, that's 60 pounds. Let's go to 70. All right, that's 70 pounds. There you go. I'm going to call that good because I like 70 pounds. Okay, now in the meantime, if I just do this, well, I can't do that because this isn't reversible, is it? Yeah, that comes out, and this comes out, and everything's free. Now I'm going to bend those tabs down. All right, so we got tabs on either side, both on flat, so I'll just pick one and pull it down. If I can. There you go. All right, so that tightens that up. At this point, I'm going to load up the clutch and close up the case. All right, I've got lots of clutch parts to choose from, stacks and stacks. I picked 5 of these pretty good looking aluminum green ones and 4 good looking steel ones, nice and flat, and a pressure plate and a spring and a spring plate. So I'm going to put these in the clutch and see how it feels. Oh, by the way, never put a clutch together dry. I found out the hard way that sometimes they'll stick together and rip themselves up. So I always wet down the plates before I put them together. Just a personal idiosyncrasy. Okay, if you are familiar with Triumph and BSA clutches, they use coil springs. Norton went one step farther, I believe, and they came up with this diaphragm spring. It takes a special tool, which is this, to release the spring pressure so it can be put together. And the same tool is used when you take it out to release the pressure so that it doesn't come flying out and hurt you. And it will hurt you if you try to take a clutch apart without using this special tool. The bolt goes through here and goes into the adjuster hole. And then you use this bolt. Let's see if I've got 2 3/4. I believe I do. Like so, to flatten this blade out. Okay, taking a lot of the spring out of it. Now we'll go over here and see if it'll sit flat on top of the plates. Okay, not yet. I'm wondering if this stack is too tall. Or if it's resting on here. Shouldn't be. Doesn't feel like it. All right, I'm gonna go a little bit farther. Well, that's darn near flat. Let's see how it goes. And I still can't get it in there. Okay, I'm gonna have to do a little reconnoitering and figuring. I think the stack is too tall, and I'll have to take a look at the plates I used and see what I see. Well, excuse me, the clutch stack is in, and everything's ready to be closed up. Sorry I didn't show the actual installation, but basically you put this in there and you put everything in there, and then you take this out and you put the spring around the outside edge and then release this and everything stays inside. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm a little tired. I'm gonna go ahead and close this up. Well, it's 5:45 and I'm tired. I have not worked all day on the bike, but a lot of it on this engine. And tomorrow I'll clean up all this mess, put all these bits and pieces back in the box. The engine looks a whole lot better now than it did when we started. It'd be fun to have a before and after picture, but I don't. So anyway, there it sits, ready for my good buddy to pick it up. And that's it. I'm tired. We're done.